What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog, and we're back in Historic here for a sweet little best of one list. So this was a subscriber submitted idea, and what they were interested in seeing was Bontu the Glorified and Liliana Death's Majesty in a zombie tribal list. So this is what I've come up with. Just kind of a casual best of one list. So Liliana Death's Majesty, obviously super sweet card. Got back into Standard when Amonkhet came out, and I saw this card as kind of the reason why I was drawn, part of the reason why I was really drawn towards Liliana and how we kind of came to be Liliana's disciples. So 5 mana, 5 loyalty, +1 to make a 2/2 zombie token, and mill 2 cards. -3 to return any creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it's a zombie, introduce other colors and types. -7 to destroy all non-zombie creatures. So all in all, she probably works better in more of a reanimation type of shell, but she can work in a zombie aggro tribal list as well. And that's kind of what we're going for, even though obviously Bontu is a little bit difficult to build around. Unfortunately, this, of course, the Amonkhet remastered version is not a zombie, whereas the War of the Spark version is. However, Bontu is still pretty interesting. 3 mana for 4/6 Menace Indestructible. Pretty sweet stats. However, it's one of the harder gods to actually use from that block, because it can't attack or block unless a creature died under your control this turn. So, and if you sack a creature to allow it to block, it's going to be difficult to actually continue doing that over and over again. So Liliana, of course, lets you get creatures back from your graveyard, and it makes creature tokens, which are zombies as well. So either way, you can be getting some value off of that and additional fodder for Bontu. And then when you can actually pay 2 to sack another creature to scry 1, and then each opponent loses 1 and you gain 1. So in addition to turning on Bontu being able to attack or block, you get to ping your opponent, drain your opponent for 1 as well, and scrying. So it's actually pretty decent. So how we're going to get there is we're running 4 Dreadmalkins. It's a 1 mana 1/1 zombie with menace, so it's pretty sweet. It helps with kind of our aggressive plan. It also helps us as a sacrifice. It does cost 3 mana, so maybe you'd want to do this 2 mana for Bontu instead. But it just kind of depends. Maybe you want to put the 2 counters on the zombie cat here instead. That could be better. Obviously, making it a 3/3 menace is pretty sweet. Let's have a Liliana's Steward. It's a 1/2 for 1. And you can just tap it to sacrifice and make your opponent discard a card. You don't do that sorcery speed, though. But the fact that you don't have to sink any mana into this, and you can just do this, and then you'll obviously trigger your Bontu while making your opponent discard is pretty sweet. We're splashing red for a couple cards here, and one of them is a Grim Initiate. It's a zombie, 1 mana 1/1, first strike. And when it dies, you amass 1. So you can sacrifice this and get a replacement for it, which you can sacrifice maybe like the following turn. And yeah, it's kind of pretty sweet here as well. Just 2 copies though, since red is kind of our splash color. If you do have red and you open out like a Blood Crypt or something like that, that's fine to play this on 1. You can be a little bit aggressive with the first strike. Lazotep Reaver allows us to kind of make additional bodies. It comes down as a 1/2 and then amasses 1. So if you don't already have a zombie token out, it makes a 1/1. And if you do, then it becomes even bigger. So either way, it's a pretty solid card here. Liliana's Triumph has some nice upside here, making your opponent discard a card if you have a Liliana Planeswalker, and then at speed, making your opponent sack a creature. We do have the Malkin and the Bontu, which both have Menace, so just getting creatures off the board, even if it is they get to choose which creature that is, it's not like the worst for us, because if we can just minimize the number of creatures they have with Menace, then it makes them that much harder for the block, and they might not even have enough creatures to block with at that point. Dreadhorde Butcher is a 2 mana zombie, 1 in black and red for a 1/1 haste. When it deals damage to a player or a planeswalker, you get to put counters on it. And when it dies, it deals damage to its power equal to any target. So this is a nice aggressive zombie. Obviously, you need to actually swing in with it for a couple times before it gets really good, but there's definitely matchups where you can do that. We only have the 2 triumphs here for our interaction, but once you get it, if you're already get through, then with Bontu, you can just sacrifice this and potentially just kill your opponent. I've done that before in playtesting, where you we get this like on the early turns, like turn 2 or whatever, and because it's up to like 3/4 power, and even attack with it later on, and get your opponent down to like 3 or 4, and then after combat, you just sack. You have 2 mana open left, and you can sack your Butcher and finish them off. So that's a pretty neat little trick here as well. With all the sacrificing and stuff like that, we need a little bit of card draw, and Midnight Reaper works well with that, being a zombie as well, of course, and 3 power. Pretty just decent stats all around. Obviously, we non-token creature dies, we draw a card and take 1 damage. So we have to kind of consider if we want to sack the amass tokens or the actual creatures for Bontu and that sort of thing. But either way, it's a pretty sweet card. 3 Murderous Riders lets us be plays zombie removal basically, and also is a 2/3 life linking body. So the additional life gain with Bontu gaining us life and Murderous Rider can be pretty helpful in certain matchups. 2 copies here of Liliana, Waker of the Dead. We're pretty aggressively slanted, so odds are we're going to be casting this with an empty hand, and so we don't care about the +1. And we're going to force our opponent to discard maybe some removal spells or whatever big flashy spells they're holding up in hand. And if they are already empty-handed as well, then we punish them by making them lose 3 life, which works well with our aggressive plan. So just 2 copies, and of course we fill up our graveyard, so our -3 is going to be pretty solid removal as well. And final here, we're running 2 copies of Traitorous Greed. Seemed like it was kind of an interesting card when it was released, but just hasn't seen any play. And obviously it's pretty expensive for what it does. 4 mana to gain control of a creature until end of turn, when you can do that with 3 mana with like Active Treason, which doesn't really see much play either. But then you have Claim the Firstborn for 1 mana, and even the Menace decks, the Tentative Connection card, which is often just a 1 mana spell as well. This one though, it in addition to that effect, it also adds 2 mana of any one color. So we can steal one of our opponent's creatures, add 2 black mana, and then use that black mana to sink into Bontu to get rid of their creature, and have Bontu available to attack. So that's kind of the hope with there. Haven't really had too many matchups to get it off, but definitely wanted to feature it in this build here. Mana base here, we have 2 Castle Locthwains for some card draw, 8 Swamp, 6 Mountain, 4 Blood Crypt, 4 Dragonskull Summit. So I was brewing with this before Zendikar came out, and honestly I haven't really seen too much in Zendikar that really fits in here too much. I mean, we're kind of a aggro tribalist, so I don't necessarily want to be playing a bunch of tap lands. And then obviously they didn't get the, Zendikar did not give us the pathway lands that can be black or red. I think we'll have to wait till the next set for that. The only one you could consider maybe is like the Hagra Mauling, maybe. But as it is, I think this list is fine as is. I don't necessarily think you need to add Zendikar cards in here at the moment. At least not from what I have seen or have thought about, but could be wrong. So black side seems pretty reasonable to me. So we'll lead on the Malkin and try to be a little bit aggressive here. Temple of Epiphany. Oh yeah, got a little 100 card deck. Shock. Ping them for 2. Another one. Seems pretty good. We're going shotgun for a Steward here as well. Yeah, forget that opt. You got it. Right, now we got some nice options next turn with the Steward and the Triumph. See if they just try to play a creature here. So far they seem to be just on spells. I'll go and drop this Bontu. If we just kind of go ahead and attack, we can sack the Steward next turn. Okay, Enigma Drake. And Storm Tamer. Wow, so they were just holding up all those cards. Alright, discard. We'll fuel up their Drake, but that's alright. They're tapped out anyway, but we do get around Storm Tamer at least. We got Menace, so they can't block. And another Steward. So we're in a pretty decent spot. Okay, so we don't. Not quite lethal. Representing 5. Even if we actually paid to sack this instead of actually using it. Ideal draw probably would have been just to get an untap land, play the Reaver, sack that, and swing in with Menace. Especially if they don't have another creature, then we guaranteed get in for 5 + 1, put them down to 1, and we can kill them next turn. Even a Butcher maybe would be a pretty decent draw. Yeah, kind of surprised they didn't have more interaction for us though. I mean, they fired off that shock, but I guess when you run 100 cards. Alright, up against Sweet Twins. Alright, seems pretty nice. There you go, Steward into Butcher here. Yeah, pretty nice curve. Just looking for Bontu. Also, Dreadhorde Butcher continues to shine in the sacrifice aggro lists. So many people with these 100, 200 card piles. It's like, I don't get it. People just don't have deck builds, they just throw cards together. It seems like these decks either just do nothing because their deck makes no sense, or somehow the shuffler gives them just like exact cards that work perfectly against you. It's just so silly either way. But we'll see what our opponent's up to. Maybe they have something. We've flooded the board pretty hard here. Yeah, I mean, 200 cards. Up against GGDFG. Right, double Butcher. Turn one Malkin. Nice aggressive start. See what our opponents got. Abzan so far. Flaxen Intruder. Sure. Makes our Butcher a little bit worse. I grabbed the wrong land there, didn't I? We'll finish that one off and grow the other one. Not ideal, but do what we gotta do. All said. Put the life linker out, see what they got. Block our Butcher. Put out the Reaver and the Steward. So we're going wide here. See what our opponent's up to. Alright, we're against SPC MN Spliff. And then a Kahira deck. Well, I guess we'll shock in for a Steward here. It's not a great hand, but it's playable, so we'll keep it. $77 cards. Steward. Swarm Shambler. Probably not going to block, so we'll get in there for one. Lazotep Reaver. Alright, so if we do later on try to Traitorous Greed this Swarm Shambler, obviously they're going to get a token off of it. We'll shock in, try to keep going wide. Growing their Shambler, getting nice and big. Missed a point of damage by waiting to play the Reaver, but that's alright. Death's Majesty could help us go wide here as well. Could be pretty useful. Okay, they just tap out to get their Kahira. And you're attacking in. Okay. Well, there's Bontu. So we'll just attack with the 2-2. Alright, next turn we can start doing some fun stuff. We'll keep these stewards so we can get some activations next turn. Okay, they just go for their Kahira. Swarm Shambler being a beast. We'll play the Steward again. We'll fire one of these Stewards off. I think we still just attack with Bontu and the 2-2. Oh, they do not want to discard that. Pretty sure they don't block with Kahira, so we can get in for 6. Alright, bonus down to 8. It's not bad. If they do have any bigger creatures, we'd have the Traitorous Greed, if we can find another land here. So we're in an okay spot, but not great. Okay, we can definitely steal that. Hopefully they get to crack in here. Swing all. Yeah, Vigilance. Okay. They don't even attack. You have free attacks here. We can't even block Questing Beast. So that's a guaranteed 5 damage would be at 11 at least. I'm not really sure what their what our opponent is on. We'll fire this off here. Ronus's Monument. I mean, this Questing Beast means we can't really attack because they can just block it. And even though we have Indestructible, we just don't do anything. So we need somebody to deal with this Questing Beast. With the Vigilance and everything. So next turn they can Helm of the Host. I'm not really sure. We have a way out of this. We need like a Murderous Rider or something. All right. This is where it gets awkward. Do we sack the Questing Beast now just to get off the board? We kind of have to. I think we just need a kill spell here. Let's swing all. Down to 7. Yeah, I don't think he sequenced that right. I don't think that's how you want to block. What? Wow. Some pretty, we'll say questionable lines of play there. Yeah, obviously I would rather have attacked with the Questing Beast. Do they block with it though? Hard to say. Obviously, the Shambler, you want to go do blocks first, and then prevent, like, you know, block the 2/2 or something. Yeah, block the 2/2 and then block a 1/2 like they did. I don't know why they activated the Shambler first and killed themselves. Even if they had sequenced that properly, we have Bontu and we have a 1/2, and we're hoping for a kill spell off the top, but then they probably just equip Helm of the Host on, I don't know, either one of these, probably the Swarm Shambler. And then they just kind of go wide. We have Bontu with Menace, but then this has Vigilance, so that's pretty miserable for us. We basically have to find a Murderous Rider to deal with Kahira, so they lose Vigilance. That's kind of our only hope, but then Helm of the Host means they're just going to go wide every single turn, so that obviously shortens our clock pretty significantly. I mean, even if it's just a land and we play Liliana, we make 2/2s, that kind of helps, but it's probably not enough. So yeah, I think if they sequenced that better, they probably had us, but it is what it is. Alright, against Homer 9561. I'll double Bontu. On the draw. So we can try it. Against Merfolk or maybe Mono Blue Tempo. We'll leave with a castle here, because we don't have any swamps. Okay, 2 Mistcloaked Heralds. It's looking pretty rough here, especially with this kind of a start. Alright, 2 Heralds. Say go. We don't have a counterspell there, that's good. Do we try to kill one of these now? Obviously, they have some kind of a aura or something we do. Okay. We can't block them, so let's attack. If they want to double block, I'm not sure that's worth it for them, but they don't even double block, they just block. Alright, Fire of Bontu. No counter magic again. I really do not know what our opponent is up to. We'll see. Mistloak Carol typically seen like blue tempo lists. And Baron is pretty annoying. Seems to be what they're up to, but not entirely sure. Just go ahead and get the Bontu down. We'll attack. See if we can get. Don't hate it if they block with Baron. Draw a card, get that off the board. But they choose not to. Our board is much better now, but you didn't attack earlier. I'm not sure I understand. Right, we'll activate, sack the initiate. Draw a card, get some triggers. Bottom of that, we have plenty of lands. Get the swinging. You can't block Bontu. We'll go and fire this off. They didn't block it last time, so doesn't expect them to block this time. Now you have a counterspell. Cancel. You got it. Oh, we trade, we get to draw a card. It's another initiate. That was perfect. Alright. 4 cards in hand for the opponent. Without a way to equip this Mist Cloaked Herald. Not sure there's much I can do. Thieving Skydiver. Seems pretty situational. Yeah, we still have 2 mana open, so we'll fire off Liliana, or try to. Obviously, double Bontu in hand is pretty awkward. Now you have the counter spells, my dude. And now you have counter spells. Sure. Alright, we got first strikes after double block. And we have menace after double block Bontu. Yeah. Seems pretty desperate there. I'll try to resolve Liliana. You have another counterspell, my dude? I just want a Liliana, man. Is that too much to ask for? Come on. We'll sack this so we can attack with Bontu and drain them. Yeah, Butcher could be nice. Alright, put it down to 5. Got lethal on board, basically. Your last card's a counterspell? I mean, you're just dead to Bontu on board. There's a Liliana. Cool. So, alright, up against Angelos. Hand seems okay if we get this Butcher online. Pretty reasonable curve, though. Tap land. Perfect. Well, we can at least curve out. Depending on what our opponent's up to. If we want to play Liliana or not, or if we need the removal for Triumph. I guess we could play Liliana and just not do anything with it. Doesn't seem very good, though. Dude, you got the Elemental, you got the sleeves, but you're playing these lands? Seriously? Alright, getting there for 2 more. Growing our Butcher nice and fat. 6 power on the board. Nothing doing for our opponent so far. Yeah, we'll just go wide here. Hold up Triumph. Could just be a Shadow the Sky. Or Wrath of God, I guess. I don't know, this budget mana base. Maybe they're spend all their wild cards on like Wrath of God and good spells. Deputy. On the Butcher. Yep. Fire this off in response. And... oh, where are you going, dude? I was going to play Bontu. And then swing all in. What's that? 4, 7, 8, 9. Put them down to 3. Then we shock in, play Bontu. And... maybe if they have their deputy or something like that, we just sack in response. And then we have a sacrifice next turn to sack the Butcher. Just actually, yeah, just they go down to 3. This goes to 5. We'll just play Bontu, shock this in, activate, and then use the Butcher to finish them off. So yeah, pretty sweet. All right, I think we'll wrap it up there. So yeah, you can see the power of Bontu in the right matchups, obviously. Being indestructible is pretty sweet, but it is a little bit tricky to actually get it to work. But yeah, this is after some tuning. This is feel pretty good about where the list is at, if I can find it. There we go. All right. Obviously, you want to be running a little bit more removal with butchers and things like that. but then you also need like early creatures, so you can have creatures on board already to sacrifice to Bontu. Obviously, the Traitorous Greed can kind of help out with that, but that's pretty matchup dependent, and can be kind of awkward sometimes because sometimes you actually want to attack in with the creature that you steal. And of course, when you go to your combat phase, you're gonna lose those 2 mana. So it can be a little bit tricky. Maybe this shouldn't belong, but I did want to, at least find some way to utilize this card, and so I think Bontu is kind of the best way to do that. But I'm still not quite sure Traitorous Greed is actually good enough, and it's pretty fun to play with both Lilianas. Obviously, if we're sacrificing things to fill up our graveyard, we can get value on both sides of this, especially since we're pretty aggro, empty our hand pretty quickly, and then Death Majesty is just a sweet card in general. So I'd like to run a little bit more removal, but it's kind of hard to fit it in because of the requirements to play Bontu. You've seen lots and lots of creatures, especially earlier and cheaper creatures that you can easily sacrifice to Bontu and just kind of have this go wide strategy with like Menace and things like that. Feels like it's kind of the best way to go. Obviously, we have the Murderous Riders here as well, and then Triumph can be pretty decent, and then the Traitorous Greed to kind of steal things. Liliana is also some removal as well, so a little bit more removal than what looks like at first glance, but still would like to play a little bit more, but just not quite sure we can really justify that. I guess you could take out the Greeds for maybe some other 2-mana kill spell or something. Might be better, but yeah, this is I've got the list tuned so far, so hopefully that you enjoyed watching this this version that I built for you, and for everybody else as well. So thanks for watching, guys. Till next time, make sure you jank with purpose.